That's it. Democracy, communism, everything else is ridiculous. Is something that the Europeans created to divide and conquer. Because a republic, if you do the etymology on it, re means to bring back. The public is the people. All power to the people is exactly what that means. In a democracy, it's a government where the mob rules. The government passes laws that benefit rich people and the corporations and not the majority of the people. In a republic, you have a government that's for the people and by the people. Can't exist without the people. The government is actually servants of the people. You know, now when you deal with the Buck Act and things like that, that's when you're talking about the official overthrow of this government. That's why, you know, like people like Ron Paul, you know, I call him, I say he's an undercover Aryan. You know what I mean? Because the Aryans, they're talking about the Republic. Now, I have nothing against the Aryans. The only thing I have against them is the hateful stuff. When they talk about separation, some of the stuff that the Klan, and that's why, you know, they fell out with Marcus Garvey because he met with the Klan and sized them up. But a lot of things that the Klan say, that the Aryans say regarding law, were the absolute truth. When you're dealing with black people, the things that when they would go to the courts, bring up the Constitution, they would say, look, this is what the Constitution says about blacks. I'm not arguing that because I'm not black. That's a social status, but I'm not trying to cling to dealing with emotions. It's not a nation.
Be lacking.
Be lacking. You know what I mean? There's no nations in Africa called Blackia or Blackovania. You know what I mean? It's a social status. So again, I'm not, you know, sitting here taking the side of the Klan or the Aryans, but a lot of things that they would say regarding law were true. You know, now again, the hateful stuff that's for the birds. But we gotta understand that Bush and Skull and Bones and them are nothing but higher levels of the Klan. And they are dedicated to that order, which is the preservation of their species. And we talked about the ISIS papers. That's what the sister was talking about in there. When you understand, this is why they do what they do. And they're the only people running around talking about world peace. Nobody else needs to even be concerned with that because they beat everybody else and they want everybody to leave them alone. They're the only people who can't do their own thing. Asians are fine in Asia. Africans are fine in Africa. Native people who are aboriginals to the Americas are fine here. We can survive off this land. Africans can survive off their land. Europeans are the only ones who need the rest of the world's resources. And they're the only ones who are in any direct fear of genetic annihilation. We're still the second most populated people on this earth. Out of all the diseases and epidemics that have plagued us, we still are not even close to genetic annihilation or to being an extent as we say we are. Now the path we're going, that's still not true when you understand the rate that we're having babies. Now our consciousness will be totally dead. Right. You know what I mean, at the rate that we're going. But physically we'll still be here. You know, the Europeans are the only ones who even are under that threat. You can watch YouTube, there's videos wanted. You can just put in wanted more white babies. I watched this video and it was amazing enough. Timberland was sponsoring this video. You have to have really get a lot of views to get a corporate sponsor on your YouTube videos. I'm watching the video, an ad from Timberland pops up. You see what I'm saying? Fox News did a special talking about having more white babies. The movie, Children of Men. Yeah. They're doing a lot of things addressing their lack of reproduction. You see what I'm saying? Because they're the only ones who fear that. We don't. That's part of why we're so. I always say that if we were that close to it being extinct, then maybe our people would wake up and unify. But right now, because we're so in abundance, we're all over. We're still all over. We don't fear that, so we don't have that unity. And we're diverse as a people, so that's why another thing with the birthright and the nationality, we're dealing with nationality. We're not dealing with religion and no belief sets. We've been so diverse as a people for thousands of years. Moors, because Moors not a religion, as we all know. You see what I'm saying? There were Moors, when you deal with the Moors of West Africa, they were Jewish. Not all of them, but there's a lot of records, especially when you're dealing with Senegal and the Ivory Coast, all those areas, Liberia, there's a lot of records of the Moors as being Jews or Hebrews in that area. Yeah. In Spain, we all know about the history of Moors being Christian. In Spain, and Muslims and Jews. Because we got to know that these Europeans will throw terms out at us, and if we don't know our history, they'll be talking about us and we won't know it. And then they get away with putting the blonde hair and blue eyes on it. I was in Vegas like 6 months ago. I'm gonna wrap up after this, but I was in Vegas about 6 months ago. And I mean, you see why, when you're out there, why they call it Sin City, because it's a lot deeper than the lustful things that are going out there. They degrade a lot of the prophets, a lot of the different religions. They degrade. There was a picture in the one store. They had the Krishna, you know, the Hindu goddess or god with the tongue out, and it said like demonic all on it, you know what I mean? They had Nefertiti, blonde hair and blue eyes, on a slot machine. They had a blonde, and I took a picture in my not my phone, but in my camera I had. They had a blonde hair, blue eyed Nefertiti, pale skin and everything. I'm like, it was just amazing. They had shirts that said "Empower Darfur." They had red, gold, green, and then a white fist. What do you had a white fist on the shirt for? Talking about Empower Darfur. You see what I'm saying? Because another thing you can notice, they're closing in on Africa through their fabrications and their burning of their history. Northern Africa now belongs to Arabs.
Yeah.
Black people can't even say that they come from Northern Africa. Southern Africa belongs to blonde hair, blue-eyed people, or people who maybe have that Germanic phenotype with brown hair and you know still pale skin. You know what I mean? But South Africa belongs to. So they're closing on Africa to where people who are considered black only really got Central and West Africa to say where they come from. But that's just the European going all over saying he's native everywhere. That's why you'll see a lot of these so-called Indian tribes, Native American tribes, somebody's got blonde hair and blue eyes and just some feathers on. You know what I mean? And when you study the history of the different tribal wars, you'll see that there were tribes like the Seminole tribe that war with them tribes saying y'all ain't native, y'all European. Y'all done inbreeded with them so bad that y'all are European. That's fact of people, darker skinned tribes accusing, you know what I mean? Those lighter skinned tribes are saying, nah, y'all are European. I'm not going for that. That's really where I've been at lately. Lately I've just been, especially to get involved with the birthright thing, studying a lot of the different tribes. They may say that they're Indian, you know what I mean? But a lot of the terms, like, deal with the Tainos. The Abenaki, deal with that. A lot of those, they're dealing with the real history because they're not calling themselves Indian. Now, anybody who says that they're Abenaki, they've already declared that Indians come from India, and that's a term that Christopher Columbus came here and called. You know, so, again, birthright is definitely the key, especially when you deal with nationality and birthright, and that's what the Moorish science is dedicated to. Now, when you get into the temple, it may seem like it's all about religion, you know, with Islamism, but it's supposed to be strictly nationality and birthright. That's it. And you can't, there was a point, like when I go into Europeans' homes, with the job that I do, they'll ask me what my name is. And I have a European, you know, I told him my name, I said, honey, ill. He said, ill, what's that? Just to smooth it out, I didn't want to get deep into it. I said, you know, my family's originally from Morocco. I just left it at that. You know what I mean? But the point I'm getting at is there was a point in time where, you know, two men might meet each other or whatever. They say, what's your name? They weren't really asking your last name. They would say, you can give them, you know, Johnson, Smith. And that last name connected you to a nation. You see what I'm saying? So from that point on, if I said Smith, which is like Northern Irish, and you said, you know, Giovanni or something, which would most likely be Italian, we will build on whatever treaties between Ireland and Italy. You see what I'm saying? So that's where the whole, you can't claim your nationality and try to get any birthrights, and you're running around looking like us, and your last name is Smith, Jones, and Jackson, and whatever else. So it is key. Like you got Moors that just throw an ill on the bay at the end of a European surname. To each his own. You know what I mean? Me, I gave it all away. I feel very honestly that.
Get it all back.
Give it all back.
That's right. That's
When I listen to that brother Taj, he uses the analogy. He said, it's like having on a brand new Michael Jordan on one foot and a brand new, another brand new sneaker on the other foot. It's like, yeah, both those sneakers are nice, but they don't match. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, they both are nice, but they don't match. You know what I mean? So I feel as though you got to give it all back. And the reason why I gave it all back is because I feel like when I was named, both of my parents were unconscious. I'm humble enough to admit that. I'm not targeting my mother or my father, saying, oh, you did something wrong. You were unaware when you gave me that Irish name. Because I'm clearly not Irish.
What is it?
We look like fools. But we look like fools. You know what I mean? This is almost like when we celebrate Independence Day. Why do we celebrate somebody else's independence? Now, as Moors, we're going to put another aspect on it. That's when they got their independence from us. Regardless, on July 4, 1776, people who are considered black today did not get no independence. They teach in the schools that slavery was from 1619 to 1892. So in 1776, when these Europeans got their independence from Great Britain, we were still getting the whip for another 100 and something years. So we got to let go of their emotions. Yeah, I know we get the day off. You know what I mean? But as a people, we compromise too much. And